Bill Moyers, the 11th White House press secretary, famously stated that democracy belongs to those who exercise it. And you being here is a testament to you exercising that democracy. Allow me to cordially invite you to the debate circle's Young Parliamentarians Debate, where we shall be quizzing various people who are running on the youth ticket who seek to get into the legislature to find out what plans they have for the youth, for policies, and generally for their terms in office when they get in. At this point in time, I'd like to invite the patron of the debate circle, Mr. Maina Chege, to introduce what, how, and why the debate circle exists. Kindly, with a warm round of applause, let's have Mr. Maina Chege, our patron.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and even the online audience, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here and to see a house full of young guys and even young aspirants who are here. And we wish you well, first of all. I think it's just to appreciate the fact that you're willing to come to speak to the people. You know, sometimes when you address an online audience and physical audience, you're wondering, where do you look at? So I think I will just move around. But first is to welcome you to the debate circle, and there's an amazing team that really does all this, and I'm sure you'll be seeing that. So sometimes that big title like patron, sometimes it's just sitting back and really, you know, when things go off is when you just give a direction. But why are we existing? As it sounds, it's a platform. It's a platform for really deliberating on matters, and I like the intro that was given in about democracy. Those are some of the subjects that we discuss, and I'm sure if you've been checking out on the pages that we have had, there are various varied discussions that happen, things that affect the young people in this nation and even affect the leadership of this nation. So we don't shy away from speaking about anything that matters. And that's the essence of debate, that we don't let anything just pass by. And so today is quite special because the team decided that they want to engage on matters of elections and the aspiring youth aspirants. And when I heard about that, I was like, wow, I would like to know as well, because I've had there institutions that exist, like I've heard about the Kenya Young Parliamentarian Association. So we believe our aspirants are going to be members of that. And at some point, Debate Circle engaged the president, who is currently still the president, and I think he's also aspiring. And it will be interesting as well to hear some of the takeouts that are there. I'm also going to be on the sit-in side to really understand and listen to them. And, you know, how is it, by the way, especially for a young person, to really vie and decide, you know, I'm going to take this up? I think I've seen some crazy budgets of what an MP really requires for you to be one. And if you guys, constitutionally, I believe you can actually vie, where are those budgets going to come from? You know, so it will be interesting to hear the perspectives, the challenges, and all those kind of things. So mine is just to say, karibuni sana. We shall interrogate, get to learn from one another, and really appreciate you for your time. Thank you so much. Back to the MC.
I'm going to start by introducing the parliamentarians who will form the panel we will be questioning today. Firstly, we have someone who arguably, if they did not exist, we would not be having this event today. We have a man by the name of Clement, who started the Great Debaters. He was one of the founders, and the Great Debaters birthed a beautiful baby known as the Debate Circle. He has a background in biochemistry, and he is here in his capacity as the leader of the caucus of Ruto for Nairobi. He is the campaign lead. He is also part of the Dagoretti South campaign lead for the MP, JK, and he is also a branding consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, let's kindly welcome Mr. Clement to the stage. Welcome, thank you for being here. It is said that you can know a man's character based on what he eats. His favorite meal is rice and meshiri. I'll let you infer what that means. Our next parliamentarian to hit the panel is Mr. Hans. He is vying for the Langata seat. He is a lawyer by profession. He runs a CBU known as Brooklyn Youth Group, which helps the less privileged in society. Kindly, Mr. Hans, take to the stage. So Hans is a classic man in the sense that his favorite food is chapati. Well in. Next, we have Mr. Daniel Kiige, who is vying for the Mathira seat. Mr. Kiige is an accountant by profession. He also runs a CBO in his community in Mathira, and he is part of the parliamentarians we're going to be having on the floor today. Welcome, Mr. Daniel. As I said, it is known, a man's character that is, by what they eat. He likes chapati and githeri together. I don't know what that means, but welcome to the panel. We have selected a very beautiful panel of concerned citizens who will be quizzing these parliamentarians and campaign consultant on what it takes to make it in the legislature, what exactly the legislature should be doing, and why you should be concerned and go vote during these elections. We have the founder, or rather the co-founder, and our host, Ms. Stephanie Washira, who is going to be part of the interviewing panel for these aspirants. Kindly, a round of applause for Stephanie. Stephanie, you can wave to the crowd. After that, we have Miss Aziza, a TV presenter at NTV and a radio host at Energy Radio, also a concerned citizen, and as you can see, a very young and beautiful lady. Please, a warm round of applause for Miss Aziza, who will form part of the interviewing panel. And then we have the firebrand, Mr. Mohamed Abdullahi himself, who is so modest, he only goes by the title of a concerned citizen. He is part of the debate circle, and he will be here to quiz our parliamentarians on what exactly it is they would like to do in their time in office. Thank you very much. I believe with those introductions, we are ready to kick off the interviewing session. But just before that, let me ask everyone a question, to our audience at home and to my audience here. If I can quickly have one of you in the comments and one of you right here, right now, tell me what your expectation is of what is about to go down here. I would really appreciate it. Any takers? Any takers? Yes, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Miracle Mudei.
Miracle Mudei. Welcome.
I'm a concerned citizen and
Ish.
student at the University of Nairobi.
Pleasure.
The Faculty of Law.
Uh,
So far, I'm impressed by the panel, and especially by the fact that it has a lawyer in place.
mm,
It shows how far we've come and how far we're going as the youth. My expectations for this afternoon is the panelists today are going to understand better. Our speakers are going to enumerate what is expected of them. And at the end of the day, we are going to be here satisfied. I'm looking forward to questions from concerned citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mudei, for your beautiful expectation. All right, we're going to kick off the interviewing session, and I'm going to hand over the mic to Ms. Stephanie Washira.
Good afternoon. Mko fiti? Mko salama? How are you doing? I am so proud, first of all, to see young people taking interest in positions of leadership, because for the longest time ever, tumeambiwa, oh, you are the leaders of tomorrow. I believe tomorrow has finally come. And I will applaud you, first of all, before we go to the grilling. So you can start smiling before we start frowning. Thank you. You all have amazing smiles. Now, there's the way our very handsome MC has introduced you, but I believe everyone has their own definitions of themselves. And I'll let each one of you introduce yourselves before I give you my own introduction. So we'll start with Hans.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I am forever grateful for this opportunity that you guys have granted me. I'll start off with my names. My name is Hans Kimani. I'm born and raised in Nairobi, South Sea area. I've lived in the environs here in Nairobi. Some environs are just around Nairobi. How would I define myself? I would define myself as someone who's self-driven, someone that I'm not intimidated or discouraged by failure. It's just an opportunity to learn. I take it as an opportunity to learn. So I decided to run for this office because I feel that as a country we are going through much as a youth, as the young people of this country, and I feel that if we were in a position to occupy those offices, or we were given an opportunity to actually have those resources, and we could actually make change. We could actually we could bring about change in terms of how people see politics. It's not an issue of age. It's not an issue of gender. It's not an issue of ethnicity. At the end of the day, it's all about you as a human being and wanting to improve someone's situation and leaving this earth better than you found it. So I always strive to try out new things, challenge myself, and at the end of the day, our parents invested in us heavily. They've taken us to institutions, secondary institutions of higher learning, and they have expectations from us. So we shouldn't be too comfortable. We shouldn't be comfortable as the youth of this country. We should strive and challenge ourselves to go out there and be the very best versions of ourselves. Yes.
All right, that is quite heavy and quite broad, and I applaud you for it. Do you think that you're well versed with the kind of problems that the people of the constituency that you want to represent are facing right now? If you could name maybe just 3 particular, specific problems rather, that people are facing.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a young people. Unemployment, that is it's a big issue in this country. People have
your constituency,
yes,
kindly.
People have gone to school. People have papers, but they don't have access to employment opportunities. Just because you don't come from a certain family or a certain, you don't have a godfather somewhere, or you don't have connections, someone that can place you somewhere. Maybe you wanted a government job or a private institution to work for, like a private organizations. We are facing. It's a big task to just find somewhere where you can just enter and start earning a living as a youth. So you find most of the people in our constituency just sit around. They have nothing to do. They have all this energy, but they don't have somewhere where they can channel this energy constructively, just use their time constructively. So instead they just decide to engage in drugs, drug abuse, or just some very unpleasant things like crime, drug. So I feel like unemployment is a big issue in our constituency. Also, there's the issue of health. So many people in our constituency, they don't have this NHIF. They don't have NHIF. They don't even know what it is. So it's upon us to create awareness, because so many people are not employed. So they don't have that liberty or that privilege where they can, at the end of the month, they can contribute something out of their salary that would go towards the NHIF. I feel like drugs is also a big issue. Drugs, there's a lack of drugs in hospitals, and I feel like, yes, you've seen a doctor, but at the end of the day, there's no drugs. So what did I even come to the hospital to do? Like, yes, I've consulted with the doctor. He's told me that, yes, you have maybe you have a amoeba or you have a diarrhea or something like that. But if we don't have drugs in the hospital, then what exactly are we doing? What is the state of our healthcare in this country?
Okay, Hans.
Yeah.
We will get a little deeper into that just slightly later. I think I'm going to throw it to Daniel, and I'm going to ask the same question. Very briefly introduce yourself, some of the things that we couldn't have captured in our 1-minute introduction of you, and perhaps personal experiences you feel are relevant to your voters in terms of the bid that you have cast.
Thank you. First is to confirm that I have a good audience, very beautiful, very handsome. I can confirm and affirm right now, you look wonderful. I'm Daniel Keige. My residence is Mathera, Karatina, Nyeri County. At the same time, I've lived in Nairobi, so I know its environment very well since I studied in KCA University. Again, on that note, I've represented the university in terms of Kenya, so I know Nairobi in a good instance. Yes, I want to confirm that I'm able, I'm ambitious. I would like some things that are very possible to change. There are so many relevant changes that are supposed to happen in so far as our constituency is concerned. Number one is to confirm unemployment. I'll give an example. I left university last year. Some guys, we were with them, they have never gotten a job. There are other guys, 5 years back the line, they completed university, no job at all. So meaning we are lagging behind in terms of employment. That is a big task that should be done. Number two, there is the vulnerability task. Vulnerability in terms of there are some people that need what is required. There are people that don't have something to eat from the constituency level. Every day they wake up to go and look for something to eat, they don't get it. So meaning there are so many problems. Another problem is road sector. Road sector, kwetu ni kijiji sana. Huku ni Nairobi, at least it's grown in terms of the roads. Kure, it's so bad. It's so bad in terms of development. I would say it's 50% back in terms of development. So in terms of development, I'm very capable and I'll do the best that I can.
All right, Clement, you sit on this panel in a slightly different capacity. You are not vying for a seat. However, you have been in positions of advisory for people that have served terms. And so I think for us, it's to want to understand what kind of experience or what kind of background has informed this decision and how comfortable are we in your advisory to parliamentarians that then represent our collective interests as young people?
Good afternoon. First of all, it's an honor to serve in this esteemed panel. I'm looking forward to the discussions that we are going to share today. I'll introduce myself first before I get to what you've asked. I'm Ngeshi Clement. I'm currently a serving member in the office of the current Member of Parliament for Dagoretti South, Honorable John Kiari. And I also serve as the CEO for a presidential caucus called Nairobi for Ruto, whereby we're just trying to solidify the votes for a presidential candidate within Nairobi. Based on my experience in this sector of leadership and politics, I think as a start, when young guys want to get into positions of leadership, you have to understand the role of the seat you're looking at. And that then determines whether you'll be able to be of help or of use to the constituents you want to serve or not. So as we continue to discuss, we'll look at the different aspects of leadership and why you don't just get into politics just because you're a young person, but it's because you have something to offer. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, I find social media to be a very, very interesting space, and we live at a time where we can't ignore the fact that social media plays a very essential role of how we shape your understanding, how we shape our understanding of who you are as a person. Now, if I take a look at Twitter, and I take a look at Hans, oh my dear, I enjoy following you. I definitely enjoy following you. 4th of April. Uhuru ako juu ya magari, instead of finding a solution for the fuel shortage, hapa tulichezwa, #fuel price, #fuel shortage. What were you thinking, man?
Hello? It's working. It's quite simple. I mean, the country is undergoing a crisis. We have a sitting president. He should be focusing on finding a solution. Instead, he's outside campaigning. He is a sitting president. Like, surely, what are we doing as a country? I was really disappointed. There's no fuel. You go to any petrol station, lines after lines, a motorcade of vehicles lining, no fuel. Our president is just busy. It was one of those tweets that really, I can't even talk.
All right.
I was just disappointed.
Yeah.
As a taxpayer.
Good enough, Mr. Hans. In your introduction, you said you're not intimidated easily. Are you someone who is compromised easily?
Compromised in what terms? Money-wise, financially?
Well, how often do you
Like
change
what
your opinions on things that really affect the common person?
And I am not easily compromised, if I was to say that. But I stand firm with what I believe in. I'm a very principled guy, and I don't sugarcoat things. If something is right, it's right. If something is wrong, it's wrong. At the end of the day, if you want to hate on me, or just if you want to hate me for like telling you the truth, or condemning you, it's not to sound, I'm not trying to sound, but at the end of the day, I don't sugarcoat things.
Good
Yes.
enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's your stance on the BBI?
The BBI, as of now, the BBI is water under the bridge.
Well, what was your stance before it became water under the bridge?
Well, in my opinion, the BBI was a good initiative for the country, more allocation of resources to the county. Who wouldn't want that? With more resources, we can do a lot more in terms of infrastructure, education, and stuff like that. But there was a driven agenda behind it, creating spaces for a few individuals. That didn't sit well with me. And at some point, I was kind of happy that it would go through. But at the end of the day, if it was just to satisfy or create positions for a few individuals, that is not the right path that we should take as a country.
Okay, so this is my thinking behind my line of questioning. On the 21st of October last year, on your Twitter, you wrote, "Elitist thieving, reject BBI." 6 days later, that is on the 27th of October, you wrote, "I support the BBI. I have been compromised. I want to be part of the 10% club. If you can't beat them, join them." That's 6 days later. What caused that change in stance? Were you compromised, in your own words?
Not really. I was not compromised. I can't quite remember my motivation about that tweet, behind that tweet. But I would say that at first, I thought it was a good thing. Like I said before, I thought it was a good thing, that it would really...
No, but
Yes.
In your sequence of tweeting, at first,
Yes.
21st comes before the 27th. So the 21st you tweeted elitist thieving, reject the BBI.
Yes.
You were against it. But it's on the 27th where you tweeted, I support the BBI. So which came first, your support for it or you being against it?
Well, I was at first I was for the BBI, yes, but not it doesn't not according to what my Twitter says, but at first I was for the BBI, but later on I came to the conclusion that this is just it's an elitist project to satisfy a few individuals. It's not for the common man, the taxpayers, the underprivileged people. At the end of the day, it's all about the underprivileged people. And that is why we're standing here, seated here as aspirants, because we want to change that narrative. We want to live in a democratic space that will accommodate everyone.
Okay.
That is what I'm asking.
All right, Clement, along the same lines, I think this is a bill that would have vastly have affected Kenyans if at all it was passed. I think the question would be, your team very violently campaigned against the BBI. And so I think my question for you is, now your team seems to have taken a stance of introducing a different seat or a new seat. What would explain the rationale between correlating these two judgments, disagreeing with a bill that fundamentally wants to change constitution of certain bodies to include more people, and then coming a couple of months later to change your minds and decide, yes, we actually do need this new seat?
Thank you for that. BBI, in essence, boils down to priority, or priorities as a country. So BBI would have had so many things, maybe, that would be beneficial. And on the same wavelength, it had so many things that maybe would not benefit the country. In essence, the conversation on our side when we were campaigning against BBI is a matter of priorities. The country as it stands, BBI was not a necessary argument or a necessary discussion to have at that time, because as we see it, the economy is doing badly. So we really needed to check on our priorities. So our discussion was, can you shelve it for a later period? In fact, one of our rallying calls was, can we do this after elections? So basically, right now, when you mentioned that the team that I support has introduced the same conversation about it. That's just, in my opinion, right now, it's hearsay, because we've not yet seen our lineup yet. So right now, it's a speculative kind of agenda. We don't know the nitty-gritties of what's going to happen after. So we just have to wait and then see.
All right, thank you. Back to Mr. Daniel. Now, taking a look at your background, you've told us that you recently graduated. Congratulations to you. But if we take a look at your story, you have unfortunately grown up in the streets. And I would say that maybe you have an understanding of what it means to lack. But unfortunately, with lacking comes the element of wanting to have, once you get the power that will enable you to acquire whatever it is that you've always lacked. So once you get into power, is there going to be change? And what actually are you going to do different, considering your background and considering where you've come from?
Yes, thank you for that question. Yeah, recently I bet nilikuwa kwa gazeti ya Nation, Daily Nation.
Hata huko ndo nilikusoma, imagine. Hata huko ndo nilikusoma, imagine. Nilikuwa nao wase wakiprint. Nikaona tu hapo.
Yes, yes. I was a street child when I was very small, 5 years old, due to various problems. So sikutoka kwa town juu ya kutaka. Nilienda town juu ya mashida, racking food. racking shelter, racking clothes, the basic fundamental that is required for every human being. Due to lack, I had to go to streets to borrow something to eat, but people were unkind. Most times, people were unkind, and that's what I'm preaching right now. I want everyone to look at the next person. Any person next to you, any person who is in need, just help him out in anything. Previously, I got a preview of a student who was borrowing 50 Kenya shillings so that he can have supper. But watu walikataa kumpatia, akakufa. I was in that instance. Nimeomba mtu amepaka gari kubwa V8. He comes and parks his car in front of the people. I borrow 20 shillings so that I can enable myself to feed myself. He slaps me. The society nowadays is not kind, and we need to ensure that kindness imewekwa kwa kila mtu.
And I totally understand that. And we all agree that we're going to be very kind and we're going to treat people better because that's basic humanity. But let's go back to why exactly you're vying for this particular position. Because everybody has a sob story. Everybody has that story that will make you feel bad for someone. And unfortunately, sometimes we vote with the element of sympathy in mind. But I believe sympathy alone is not enough. There's what makes you different. There's what you want to do. And pia with sympathy, unfortunately, mse akifika kwa hizo seats, unabadilika juu pia mimi nataka kula kenye kila mtu mwingine alikuwa anakula. So, how exactly? Because there's the element of lack of trust. Why should we trust you?
So number one, nishapitia. I've gone through that time frame, and I would not want singetaka mtu mwingine arare njaa. That is one thing that is convicted in me. So previously, what has been happening, watu wamekuwa kiingia kwa government through exactly what you are saying, sympathy vote, but they change. I would confirm, nani affirm right now, I want to ensure there is change of perspective of people, that I will help everyone that is required to be helped. That's why I want the seat to ensure nimesaidia mtu mwenye hajiwezi. So in that notion about I will go and change, sitabadilika. It's through speaking. Speaking gives the words. There is power in speaking. There are various rules and principles that says, if you want something, say it loud. I'm saying it right now, that when I get that seat, because I'll get it in date 10 August, I will ensure that kila mtu amesaidika.
Ni sawa, kila mtu sema hivyo. Unajua lugha ya wanasiasa, tunajua by now. It's very convincing, and we appreciate the fact that you have mastered the craft of politics. Now, on Facebook, because that is where you're quite active, and quite active not by 5 posts, but I will teach you this social media thing. Usijali, ukiingia kwa hiyo seat, nitafute. Now, kuna mtu alikuwa amekureplya kwa comment pale hivyo akwambia, buda uko smart. And then you actually responded there. About 20 weeks ago, ukamwambia, thank you very much. We'll develop all sectors, employability sector, ensure everyone has money. I don't know how possible that is, but because printability is possible depending on the well-being of the economy. How exactly are we going to print money and ensure all of us we have money? And is that within your role as a legislator in parliament?
Number one, I want to confirm that what who print pesa, and it's very bad. It's very bad. What who print pesa? Reason. People print money, and I want to ensure media kwa sababu wanaona. Though I don't know whether it's rumors, but nasema hivi, there are people that come with heavy new money. Nikusikia. So meaning kuna watu who print pesa, but on my side I wouldn't do that. In that text I don't think in terms of money, what we can do, the best thing is ensure, for example, kama loans are given. For example, ukiangalia kama Fuliza, right now per day, there is liquid cash. Every day in current analysis, kuna 500 billion inachukuliwa kutoka kwa Fuliza. So meaning we can enable more people to get money. Since right now we are in a period of economy of crisis, to ensure that watu wamesaidika. Yeah. Yes, exactly. We ensure easy and accessible loans. Yes, liquid cash. That is what about printing liquid cash. That's what I wanted to mean. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. You're going against what many would term as a heavyweight, MP Rigathi Gachagua. What I really liked about your manifesto is how local one of the solutions that you thought you were going to provide was the milk thing, how farmers are going to get their milk to the market. Talk to us through that.
All right. Yes. The current challenge about milk is about market. It's a market. We have KICC, but for example, in our Madeira constituency, tukona KICC moja, and dairy syrups, a certain cooperative. So meaning introducing a ready market, building a farm that enables bringing equipment to preserve the milk, so that in a later date they can ensure if anyone requires milk, haijaharibika, and you can access it in a better manner. So in return, you will be creating employment. Having a farm of milk, it will create employment to some few guys and many. It will create market to several guys that will need employment. That's how that it will enable. Hiyo ndio itasaidia to ensure that the marketability may increase. We can also import milk. I mean export, sorry. We can export milk at a better price. Shida ya mkulima ni he gets it at a lower price. Currently, at current market, 1 liter cost at 60 bob. Lakini iki-exportiwa inaweza fika 100. So meaning if we introduce a farm, milk production, we will find a ready market, atakuja anunue na 100, mkulima si amesaidika? Amesaidika.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daniel. Clement, you're part of the caucus that wants to get the deputy president, that is Ruto, to office. Isn't he against young people? Isn't your candidate against young people? Didn't Alfred Keter win genuinely? Is he for young people really, your candidate?
Interesting bit about that question is that right now, from all pollsters, now before I even answer, the youth population identifies easily with Dr. William Ruto. So he's not against them. If I get into the details, young people form the bulk of our society. And we always talk about unemployment as a big issue for young people. When it comes to what our party leader is proposing, the bottom-up economics, the bottom-up economics generally mean that at whatever stage you are in life, and now I'm bringing back the whole youth demographics. They are the majority. So at whatever stage you are, so if Clement here is a branding consultant, I do not need to change my career to move to be an entrepreneur. I can't be supported in my printing business at whatever level I'm at that time. So if I was printing papers only, I might be able to buy a digital machine. So now, basically, when you have such an economic model, it means the bulk or the majority of the people who are set to benefit are generally the youth. So he is not against the youth. In fact, he is for the youth, who are the majority of the society.
Yes, for you to get a new printer, the government will not come and give you a new printer. Your business has to somewhat succeed for you to take part of your profits and then get a new printer. For your business to succeed, it's part of a larger economy that must be doing really well. Your candidate has been part of a government for the past 10 years that has taken the economy to the dogs. Why should we trust that candidate?
I'll answer your question with a question. His Excellency, the late Mwai Kibaki, served as a finance minister in what is recorded as the worst time in our economy. Worst time. He served in different positions, even as VP, but we never used to hear of his glory. It is when he became president that he was able to achieve the small or the massive developments that we talk about when we talk about Mwai Kibaki.
Just to get there, farms linked to the late Mwai Kibaki were never linked to corruption scandals. People very close to Mwai Kibaki, names were never mentioned in essentially rigging the economy. That has happened to your candidate, hasn't it?
I think perhaps, Clemo, before you answer, a second thing that I'm going to ask you along the same lines, when you talk about the idea that Mwai Kibaki was a finance minister, I think my question to you would be, would you gauge these two people at a similar level? Because the understanding of a cabinet secretary of any nature is that they follow the policies of those that lead at the top. And your candidate is arguably the second most powerful man in the country. So can we really, really negate his contribution towards the current state of this country and compare his term to that of someone who was working under a particular regime, following the rules and standards and protocols that were set by that regime?
The buck stops with the leader. So when you are president, you're able to implement things that you cannot implement when you are following orders from your boss. We are not in a foreign country. We all know of the changes that our current president made to the leadership of his cabinet. Leaving immediately, in fact, after 2017, in 2018, people who are in government now, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, ended up acting as if they're in opposition because you have been sidelined from whatever you're supposed to be doing. But that withstanding, on the corruption issues, it is very quick to accuse anyone. Right now, Clement can be accused of many things. You'll say he's an arrogant guy, you can say anything. But any accusation should come with proof. Since we are not new to the political arena, we know that there are government institutions and there are institutions in the legal fraternity that deal with such issues. So when you come out sensationally and claim that so-and-so is corrupt, but you're not giving proof, you're just speculating, and you're not doing anything, and even the leader of the country, it can just be termed as mere propaganda. So in politics, it is easy to even be given a child that's not yours, and you're accused you have a child. So those are allegations. But if we had seen him being prosecuted, now it could have been another issue.
That's a good way to. Aspersions are not cast against members of the church because there are no aspersions to be cast against them because they're good people. Aspersions generally are cast against people who have things they have done, really. But just moving on, Hans, the constituency that you want to represent, Langata, has it been on a development trajectory? Are things going rather well, or are things going good against the current member of parliament?
Thank you for the opportunity one more time. Langata is a suburb area. We have people living lavishly in full of splendor and valor. But at the same time, we have informal settlements. Not so long ago, we had Kibra, which is part of Langata. Now Kibra is all on its own. We have so many people that are undergoing, there are some levels of poverty that are astronomical. I cannot even, it's so hard to even talk about it. Guys are not employed. Guys cannot even afford 3 meals in a day. Guys cannot even afford education. Learners are not well fed and nourished. So these are the kind of things that I would like to change when I eventually ascend to parliament, because you cannot have, on one side, guys are living lavishly. You have all these estates, gated communities. But on the other hand, guys are going through so much. So I just want to level the playing field. Yes?
One way in which you're going to do that? To level that playing field?
Yeah, so first and foremost, there are certain things that I'd like to put in place. First and foremost is, when you go to these schools, these CDF-run schools, you find that the learners, they're not well fed. So if we can pump into that and make sure that the learners are well fed and nourished, at the end of the day, you've gone to school, but you're hungry. So whatever it is that you're trying to ingest or digest from the teacher or whoever is teaching you, you are not in a position to actually internalize it because you're not well fed. So if we can start a food program to ensure that all these learners are well fed, it would be a good venture for me. Another thing is on the issue of unemployment, to say. If we can, I currently work for a BPO. A BPO is a business processing outsourcing. If we can get these big institutions, big organizations from international organizations like we get Uber, Facebook, we get these big institutions from outside to come and bring business here in our constituencies, it would actually be a very good venture for us because it would create employment for the youth, who are about 64% of the population. Another thing is the issue of, just before you go, there's one thing I would like to implement, and it's the issue of soup kitchens. Soup kitchens is actually happening in Europe and parts of America. So if we can at least make sure that we have soup kitchens in every constituency in this country, that way, if you lack shelter, if you lack shelter, like my good friend over here, whatever it is he was going through before, if you lack shelter, basic clothing, or somewhere something to eat, you can access these food shelters and get like 3 meals in a day. That is that you get breakfast, lunch, and you get dinner. And then once you find shelter, and then when sunset arrives, you can go about your businesses. But when it's time to come back, you can at least, you have shelter, you have somewhere to sleep. Because guys are homeless right now. People have nowhere to sleep. Guys are sleeping outside. It's not a good thing as a country. And that's not the approach that we want to take.
Thank you. On the unemployment question,
yes.
In your manifesto,
yes.
You talk about training young people in things like cryptocurrency
yes.
and all of these things.
Yes.
However, on your Twitter on the 11th of January this year, You said forex, cryptocurrency, gaming, lotteries, and gambling. This is the future. But remember, the house always wins. Do you want to train young people in something that you're convinced the house will always win? My understanding of your statement that the house always wins is that this is a sort of a scheme that the owners will always win, isn't it?
No, it's not a pyramid scheme of some sort. It's not a casino.
Okay.
With the casino, the house